Welcome to Wine Country at Work. I'm Ralph Demetrius, your host. And today we're going to be talking with Spencer Isetta from Capo, Isetta, which has a great tasting room right on the Sonoma Plaza over on I guess that's the west side.
It's the east side of the plaza.
Oh, that's the east side.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. The east side.
So it's sandwiched right between Sweet Scoops and Plaza Bistro.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
There was a wine shop in there for many years, as I recall.
There was, yeah, and they had a successful wine shop, and for whatever reason, they decided to give up their lease, and when we found the opportunity, we decided to jump right on it.
Right. Now, this is very much a family business, yes?
It's very much a family business, yeah. So my father, Bill, and my brother, Dominic, they run the winery. And you have myself that helps with outside sales, operations, and, also the tasting room. And then our tasting room manager is Nolan Dunkel. And his family has been a part of our family for the last 30 years.
Really?
So essentially, he's part of the family.
Well, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Now, your father, I know you guys were originally from Marin, I believe. I know your father worked in Marin.
Yeah. So so originally my dad grew up in Napa at a young age. So his father, Andy Isetta, was the head of operations up at Mount LaSalle with the Christian Brothers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I know that property well.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then my mom's father, Ray Homer, was the CFO there for 35 years. So that's how the two families met originally.
Oh, that's quite a connection.
Yeah, and both my dad and mom lived on the property there until my dad's family moved to San Anselmo and started Don's Market. And my mom's family stayed and then moved off the property to another home in Napa. And, my grandfather, Ray, worked there, for 35 years and
Interesting.
retired there.
Wow. And then I think your father was a principal. Yes?
He was, yeah. He was a principal at Marin Catholic. So he went to USF, then became a teacher at Marin Catholic, transitioned to administrator, and then for the last 15 years out of his 35 years there, he was the principal.
Ah. So how did he find his way into making wine?
Well, my dad's a very generous person. So he, every Christmas, he would love to send out wine. And my brother Dominic convinced him, hey, since you send out all this wine, how about we put a label on these bottles? So Dominic's good friend from Arizona State is Ryan Cundy from the Cundy family.
Oh.
And Ryan had just left his family's winery to start up his own thing. And it kind of just worked out where, Ryan was making wine for himself and was like, hey, I have an extra 50 cases of a red blend. Do you guys want it? Of course we do.
That's
how it started in 2012.
Yeah, it's amazing when you live here how shiners
Yeah.
by the case can show up suddenly and say,
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
I got some extra. Are you interested?
Yeah.
Well, in fact, I am.
Yeah. We most certainly were interested. And 2012, we started with 50 cases of red blend. And then I think it was 2016, we made a Sauvignon Blanc. So we had 2 SKUs the first 4 years, and then now we're up to 9 different SKUs. And we don't own any vineyards, so we source all of our grapes from family and friends. And we're lucky enough to have amazing, friends and family in the wine industry in Sonoma.
Well, that's great. And that's the way a lot of people work. And, it's a very traditional way. Even the way in which you're working with a bunch of different kinds of wines, that was always the tradition among the Italian winemakers. Have something for everybody.
Yeah. And we definitely have something for everybody. It's awesome. Our sparkling wine comes from Rack and Riddle in Hillsburg. The CFO up there went to Marin Catholic. That's how we made the connection. He's one of my dad's students. Our Pinot and Chardonnay, we source from the San Giacomo family. Steve San Giacomo is my third niece's godfather.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
we have a value brand It's a cab and a shard, lower end wine, but we get that juice from Don Sebastian and Sons.
Oh, nice.
So Donnie is my oldest niece's godfather.
Oh,
August is my fifth niece's godfather.
oh, that's funny.
So and then we have a Cuneo cab, and Marianne and Dick Cuneo, their backyard backs up to my parents' backyard.
Oh, of course.
And now Joe Cuneo, his backyard backs up to my brother Lincoln's backyard. So it really is family.
Well, it's very funny when we first got here 20 years ago. I said, I could swear that everyone is either Italian or named Kelly.
Yeah, exactly. And then you bring in the Isettas, and it kind of mixes things up.
Exactly. Well, that's nice. Well, so it's grown very gradually.
It has, yeah. So, we were really, just kind of a mom and pop shop for a long time. And then back in, I think it was 2022, a good friend of ours, Clayton Smith, who had worked at Banzer as their top sales guy for 35 plus years, got let go by the wine group. And he called my dad and said, "Hey, I'm not looking for a job, but this is what's going on." My dad said, "Hey, let's meet tomorrow at 10. And by 10:30, he was our new employee. And because of him, we were able to grow our brand through his connections.
Well, that was a really bonus because Benziger has been here for so many years, and they were very widely distributed as well.
Without a doubt. And Joey Benziger with our value brand wine that I was talking about, he's our winemaker. But Ryan Cundy's our main winemaker.
Well, it's really funny with the Benzigers because I'm from New Jersey originally, and my brother said to me, "Do you know the Benzigers by chance?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I do." He says, "Oh, well," and he lives down along the Jersey Shore, and one of his good friends is their cousin. And years ago, they would all come down from Long Island and go to the beach at Bay Head where I used to lifeguard.
Oh, no kidding! Oh, wow. Small world, right?
Very much, 2 degrees.
Yeah.
In the wine industry, you get 2 degrees of separation.
Exactly.
So, which wines do you think are really which ones are your fave? What are you liking? I know it's hard to choose. It's like, for me, it's like choosing between my kids. But which ones do you think are really, you're getting that special
so
connection to?
I think our, St. Giacomo Pinot Noir is one of our best wines. Our Cuneo Cab is fantastic. Our red blend is kind of the flagship wine. And then, our sparkling wine is, they drink it like water in the tasting room.
What's the red blend made up from?
Yeah, so I think the new batch is Sangiovese, Merlot, Zin, Petit Syrah, and a little cab.
You almost have a Super Tuscan there.
Well, that's exactly what we call it. Yeah.
That's nice.
It is.
Wait,
people love it.
Well, that's great because, Sangiovese is not an easy grape to grow. It takes so long in the vineyard. It usually takes some time to really calm down and to age. And they always say it's very hard to grow the Italian grapes outside of Italy for some reason. But I think Sonoma has that climate because in many ways it's so similar especially to northern Italy in many ways.
Yeah, definitely. And, we get all of our grapes for the red blend. We get from Wildwood Vineyards, the Cundy Ranch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they've been growing grapes since the late 1800s.
Right, exactly. It's a beautiful property.
It's gorgeous.
And there's not a lot of flat land there.
No, not at all.
Just right in the front.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I went on a whole tour of that property a bunch of years ago with a bunch of concierges, and I was very impressed by it.
Oh, it's a beautiful property. And the Cundy family, is an amazing family. And Ryan Cundy, we're so grateful to have him as a winemaker. Him and his wife, Katie, are essentially family now. We are so close, with Ryan and Katie.
Well, how old is Ryan? About.
Yeah, so Ryan and Dom are the same age. So let's see, I'm 39. So they're 43.
Okay, so Dom's your older brother.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, are you the youngest?
No, I'm the third of 5. Then we have Mitchell and Cambria.
Oh, okay, well that's good. You got lots of help.
We have a big family. Everybody in some form is a part of the winery, but my dad, Dom, and myself are the ones that are working,
very
7
actively,
days a week.
Very actively. Well, it's funny.
Yeah.
My grandfather came over from Italy in the late 1800s, and he was a winemaker. He'd gone he had been in the priesthood, and then was drafted out of the priesthood into the Italian army. He was in seminary. He wasn't a priest.
Yeah.
And then got back to Italy after that and found everything was gone that they had belonged to their family, and they left to the United States. And he married a woman with 4 children when he got here, a widow with 4 children. And everyone was amazed by that. And I realized years later that 3 of them were boys. So he basically figured cheap labor.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's funny you talk about the seminary. So my dad, he comes from a Italian-Irish family.
Right.
So he's the 3rd of 7.
Oh.
And, for high school, he didn't get to pick where he went.
No.
So they sent him to the seminary high school, St. Joseph's.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Well, in New Jersey, that's always the joke that half the families are Italian-Irish because the Italian and Irish, they're both Catholic. They both like to drink. They both like to fight, and neither like the British very much.
Exactly.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting tradition. Yeah, I'm very familiar with that in New Jersey because so many of the families are Italian. Now, with the Pinot, it's coming out of Sangiovese, so it's all Carnero's fruit.
So our Pinot from San Giacomo actually comes from Petaluma Gap.
Oh, from the Gap.
Yeah, so they have a vineyard out by Sonoma State, and we source the Pinot grapes from there.
Oh, really?
And then our Chardonnay grapes we get from their ranch off of Watma.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So.
Well, the Petaluma Gap, it's such a recent AVA, American Viticultural Area. For those who hate little abbreviations.
Yeah.
But it's such an interesting area because for years it was really seemed like too cool, but as climate has changed a bit, it's really coming into its own.
Yeah, I mean, people absolutely love our Pinot. It's very smooth to drink, very light. Especially tourists, from the Midwest and East Coast. I guess they're used to heavier Pinots for whatever reason. And when they taste our Petaluma Gap Pinot, they fall in love with it.
Well, on the East Coast, a lot of people, they grow up with European wines.
Yeah.
Because it's like the connection. And so they're used to low alcohol wines, 12% and such. And a lot of challenge they have with California wines is because our growing season's so long, we end up with high alcohol. So they want a bottle of wine that you can split between 2 people at dinner. Yeah, is what they love.
Yeah.
What's the alcohol on this one?
On the Pinot, it's like 13.2%.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so it's not too heavy.
No, not at all. Oh my gosh, I've seen 14s, 5s, 15s. Oh my gosh, some of the wines that I see where they just leave them on, they're pushing and pushing and pushing, leave them on, trying to get a little more flavor out of them. There's enough flavor already. There
is. And it's great. It's, with all of our wines, we're able to source grapes from great vineyards. We have a great winemaker. We're just very fortunate.
That's nice. Well, it's nice because you have so many connections. You have connections to the people in the vineyards, people in the winery. And so much about this industry is who you know.
100%. Yeah, I mean, we couldn't have done it without, our connections, and, our rosé, we get from the Milas family. Mike and Denise are family to us.
Oh, that's nice.
So.
Well, it's funny because I grew up with Milas as well. So
okay.
It's a lot. My family's, it's Di Amici, Rosamilia, Rosetti, but it's all Italian names.
Yeah.
A lot of names I hear are very familiar.
And the Italians take care of each other.
Oh, yeah. Well, they grew up, the tradition was all these little small villages in these mountain areas where everyone knew each other.
Yeah.
When I was researching my family, I could track one side of it all the way back to the 1700s easily.
No kidding.
Very easy because they just didn't move.
Yeah.
And they had all the records. So, but like I said, it's very much a tradition. And it's such an agricultural tradition, and it's so similar. This region, in many ways, is so similar to northern Italy in terms of the coolness. You have areas along the Po River where the fog comes in, just like on the Russian River, where you're driving down the road and you can barely see past the hood. And the grapes, certain grapes, love that.
Yeah,
they really thrive on that. You know? It's a real advantage in Sonoma. You get over to Napa, it gets hotter and hotter, and you're getting into the Bordeaux's. much drier areas. But Sonoma has a lot of advantages.
Yeah, we have a great thing going here in Sonoma.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We hope you're enjoying Wine Country at Work. And remember, you can go to winecountryatwork.com where you can find out about our tours in Napa and Sonoma. And you can also purchase our tour books and our travel books with our stories about the North Bay. Now, we pretty much focus in that area, but in that neighborhood, we're pretty much the experts. So now back to our show. Okay, welcome back to Wine Country at Work. I'm Ralph Demetrius. This is where we talk about the wine tourism industry and the wine making that makes it possible. And I'm talking today with Spencer Isetta, who works at Capo Isetta, who has a great tasting room, as you reminded me, on the eastern side of the Sonoma Plaza, up in the corner. But who are you between two landmarks?
Yeah, so Sweet Scoops and Plaza Bistro.
Easy to find.
Yeah, and our good partner B&B is right on the corner there, across from the Mission.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've had your wines over there a number of times.
Yeah, Cody and Carlo have been fantastic to us. Yeah. We're just, very fortunate.
In fact, I have to tell you, I had one of your wines just recently with some friends. It was a great Sauvignon Blanc. Oh my gosh. We had it with some very dear friends who are well-known vineyard consultants and have been doing it for years. And they said to me, Ralph, the problem is we're really spoiled because we've been in it for years. So when we were quite young, we were drinking great wines that now are very expensive. And they loved it. They were blown away by how good it was.
I love hearing that. Yeah. I mean, our Sauvignon Blanc, people love it. It's light, crisp, Sauvignon Blanc. We get those grapes from a couple different vineyards in Sonoma County. So it's a blend. We call it our North Coast Sauvignon Blanc.
Oh, that's nice. And who's the winemaker on that? Is that
it is Ryan Cundy, yeah. So Ryan makes all of our wines besides the two value brand wines that Joe Banziger helps out with.
Exactly. And when he's making that, is he making this a mix of stainless and wood, or what's his?
Yeah, so the Sauvignon Blanc is all stainless steel.
Oh,
and
really?
He makes it up in Sebastopol at his winery. So just right off of Fry Road. He's got a really unique winery up there. It's only a cave, but it's a working winery. It's very fascinating.
The cave's the best kind of winery.
It's amazing. It's awesome.
That's why the winemakers don't have any tans in the middle of the summer.
Exactly.
So I know you're the one who has to go out and sell wine, but you're also in the tasting room too.
Yeah, we kind of all do it all, right? Okay. Clayton's our main sales guy, but I help him out. Definitely go out with them. Pitch the different wines to restaurants and retail spots.
Nice.
Us being a very small winery, we don't have any distribution, so all the sales are on us.
Yeah, exactly.
And delivery as well.
Oh yes, I understand. I'm a book publisher. We do tour books. I have to deliver them once they say, "Oh, we like those." Okay, I'll drop them by.
Exactly.
Luckily, I run a tour company, so sometimes while I'm on the tour, let me run by. I'll be right back. Now, it's interesting. What's your experience like in the tasting room downtown? Downtown retail is always interesting.
Yeah, so we have a very unique tasting room. We open at 12 every day. And we're probably the latest tasting room on the square, where we don't close until 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we get a lot of that after dinner foot traffic, for sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
The biggest complaint I get from clients, in fact, is that everything closes too soon.
Yeah. So we're open till at least 10 every single day.
That's excellent.
And people love it. We have tourists that. Come in, they first get to Sonoma, they come into the tasting room, their first day there, and, they have a great time. And I tell everybody, I said, this is not your everyday tasting room, and the next day they'll go to 2 or 3 other wineries, tasting rooms and whatnot. They'll be back that night and say, hey, you're right. And, they'll be there for 3 days and they're in our tasting room for 4 times, right?
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And, what we want to do at our tasting room is we want everybody to feel like family, right? We want them to leave with a smile on their face and be like, hey, I'm a part of that Isetta family. And, my mom, she's amazing. She decided, hey, why don't we have a guest book in the tasting room? And you should, read through this guest book and see what people will say. And everybody says the same thing at the end of the day. Hey, I feel like I'm an Isetta now.
Oh, nice.
And, my dad, he is the most amazing person in the world. So generous, so kind, just a fantastic person. And, there's nothing that he likes more than, giving hugs to people.
Oh, that's great.
And by the time people leave, they're giving hugs to my dad and whoever else is working. It's basically our tasting room is an extension of my parents' house.
Oh, nice.
And I think my mom likes it because she used to have to deal with people until 2 a.m. at her house while she's trying to go to sleep. Now they can just, have a good time at the tasting room. She can go to bed at a decent time.
Well, that's a great approach. It's a great philosophy because, people do come here because it reminds them of kind of an ancestral history. 100, 150 years ago, 80 to 90% of us would have worked on the land.
Yeah.
And 150 years ago, our families in Italy, we made wine because that was 70% of the people in Italy, their business was related to wine in some way or another.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why when phylloxera hit it, millions of Italians left because it destroyed the economy in huge numbers. And there was no work. So people miss that now. 5 to 6% of people work in agriculture? So it's like a very small percentage.
It is.
Yeah. And the thing is, we're part of that.
Yeah.
Here in wine country, we're part of that 5%. We're the coolest part.
Yeah, exactly.
We're the most fun part of it.
Yeah.
But we're part of that. And when people come here, it reminds them of that ancestral thing that their families did for centuries and centuries. And it touches something. It's a very emotional connection. It's always been my thinking that it's the reason why wine clubs became so popular, because every time those wines show up, it reminds them of their place in the country.
For sure. Without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, before we started the tasting room, so we're going on our 1-year anniversary at the tasting room.
Nice.
So before we started the tasting room, we were, around 40, 45 club members, and it was all family and friends.
Right.
And now we're up, close to 300 wine club members.
That's great.
In a 12-month period.
And that's manageable.
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's great. Gina and Claire, they run kind of the wine club program. They're fantastic. They do all the dirty work when it comes to the wine club management.
Well, that's helpful because I'll tell you, I've known a lot of wine club members, and whenever it's like the shipment time, I'm trying to get them on the phone, and they're saying, "Sorry, Ralph, I can't talk now."
Yeah, it's a job I don't want, and they're fantastic at it.
Well, that's great. That's great. It's like I said, it's helpful having a large family.
It is. It is. Yeah.
So now, when you're going out and what were you doing before you got into this? What was your?
I was doing construction, so I was working for my uncle Mike Bauman in San Francisco. So he has a large landscape concrete company in San Francisco. So did all public works, and it was kind of like a easy transition because for him, kind of wore every hat. When people would ask me, "What's your job title?" It's like, no idea. I'm not sure what my job title is with our family's winery, but I love it. There's nothing better than being able to wake up every day and actually enjoy what you're doing.
Oh, it's golden.
It's amazing.
And my wife used to say that her biggest curse for anyone was that I hope you have to work in something that you hate. That's like her biggest curse. I thought that's mean.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time I don't even feel like I'm going to work, right?
That's nice.
And especially being in the tasting room, you meet so many amazing people.
Yeah.
And we're also unique with our tasting room. We have a ton of regulars.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So a bunch of people, locals, we'll see them 2, 3, 4 times a week.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's golden, because the biggest challenge with any type of retail like this, is when the staff has to deal with all new people all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we love the tourists, but
Yes.
we also love our locals.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we love Sonoma.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing, too, is when we first moved here, we'd come from Philadelphia. It's a very urban city.
Yeah.
It's people from a lot of different backgrounds and such. And so I missed it. But when we got into the tour business, all my clients were from other places.
Yeah.
And it really recharged that. And that's the nicest part about this. You meet people from all over the country.
Yeah.
And
it's also interesting, you meet somebody from Chicago or New York or New Jersey, right? And you hear their stories. And, I love when people say, hey, we're staying in Napa, but we're not feeling that great about it.
Right.
And somebody told us to come to Sonoma. We found your tasting room. We love Sonoma now.
Right, yes.
Right? And Napa's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I went to high school at Justin Siena in Napa. Many friends that still live in Napa. I love Napa. My parents were up there. But Sonoma is a very unique place.
It's very different. I used to, in one of our first tour books, and this is like 17 years ago, I had written in there that when people first come, I recommended that they first go to Sonoma because it was a bit more relaxed. And this is 17 years ago, so the two places were quite different. Though Sonoma wasn't that different. Napa was. And I remember I was trying to get one of the bed and breakfasts in Napa to carry the book. And she saw this and said, oh, you shouldn't say that because, you're sending preferentially to Sonoma. And I said, well, I'll change it in the book. I did change it. She still didn't buy it.
So it didn't work.
It didn't work. But I still oftentimes will say to people, when you're coming, it's much more relaxed in Sonoma. The challenge for me when I first started doing research for the books, I got a job at Bow Wine Tours. Because I was living in Sonoma, they were 5 minutes from my house, and this way I could go out on the road and I could do the research for the book, which was supposed to be about winery buildings, and morphed into a tour book. And about 70% of the tours were over in Napa, and it was because Napa's brand is so noisy. It's easier to spell, maybe.
It is, yeah.
And so, but then I did a lot of touring in Sonoma too over the years, and that's when we started our own business. I found myself probably doing 50-50. Which was nice because I would tour up into northern Sonoma a great deal. And I think that Sonoma has developed beautifully in part because of the local quality. For the Bay Area people, Sonoma has remained affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Napa and it's just the way it is, but, tastings out there are pretty expensive.
Oh, beyond expensive.
You get 4 tastings, 1 ounce pours, for $60, $70. Here, I mean, we charge $40 a tasting. It's 6 wines, but like I tell everybody, if you want to try, something again or the other 3 wines, go for it. We're not going to charge you anything extra. Like, we want you to have a good time,
right?
And we appreciate you coming not just to our tasting room, but to Sonoma and experiencing what we've experienced all of our lives.
Well, it's also that a big part of the tasting room experience is tasting things you haven't tasted before. Most people in the course of their day, they taste the same things all day long. They have the same coffee in the morning. They have the same breakfast. They have a similar lunch. They have 5 or 6 different dinners, maybe. This is Monday's dinner, it's Tuesday. So it's always the same flavors. Now they're in a place where they're getting to try wines side by side. And they're distinctly different. You go from a Sangiovese to a Pinot Noir to a Chardonnay. You're talking wines that came from just incredibly different regions.
Yeah.
And those wines have very complex flavors. And so they're using their sense of taste in a way they haven't used it before.
For sure. And I also think, hey, listen, we make some amazing wines. But I think, for us in particular, like our story is what makes our wine.
Oh, yeah.
And people love our story.
Story's everything.
And it really is, though.
Oh, everything. I just gave you our book, our favorite Sonoma stories.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to reading it.
These were the stories I've been telling over my shoulders for 20 years to people. And the stories of this place are amazing. And the stories of the families are remarkable because it takes such endurance and dedication and a passion for the topic, for the product, and a desire to share it.
100%. Yeah, especially tourists, they're tickled by the fact that we're connected to everybody that we buy our grapes from.
Oh, that's great.
They love that aspect of kind of our brand.
Now the website is Capo Isetta, and spell this out for me.
Yeah, so CAPO
Right.
Isetta spelled ISETTA.com. So
Okay.
CapoIsetta.com.
Okay, that's important because people want to go to the site and see the story.
Yeah, and we're at 412 First Street East, right on the plaza. Please come and see us. 95% of the time, either myself, my dad, my brother Dom, we'll be in the tasting room.
That is something you find in Sonoma a lot more. Is a lot more times I'm meeting the wine. My clients are meeting the winemakers. They're meeting the family.
Yeah,
that's something you find very much in Sonoma.
And people like that.
Oh, people love that. Yeah. People want a personal connection to something.
They do, and I don't blame them. When I'm traveling around, the country, and you go into a restaurant, and you get to meet the owner, and it's like, this is awesome.
It's everything.
It
everything.
Is.
Well, Spencer, thank you so much for doing this today. This was great.
Oh, this is so much fun, and again, thank you so much for even thinking of us. And we would love to host, any of your listeners out there, and thank you again.
Thank you. And this is Wine Country at Work. Come back and see us next week, and we'll learn more about the wine industry, wine tourism, and this wonderful place we get to live in.